The pressure is increasing on Russell Simmons in the wake of more allegations of sexual assault. In this video, we're going to be breaking down just some of the details coming out of a news report of 3 more women and the incidents that happened with Russell Simmons over the course of the past several decades. It's very in depth, and there's a lot of very uncomfortable details in this, and so we're not going to cover all of it. You can read it if you want to, but here are some of the details and what he's doing in advance of more of these potentially coming out. He said on Instagram, I believe today, that he's going to begin to properly defend himself. This comes after the New York Times story. He says that it's not his intention to diminish the Me Too movement in any way, but instead to hold his accusers accountable. It's just a statement about my innocence. And because, of course, saying that they are purposefully misrepresenting what happened could be seen as harming the movement or besmirching the movement. He's trying to tread a careful line there. He says that he will prove without any doubt that I'm innocent of all rape charges. But let's go to what actually happened. So this is the first. On work calls, he would talk graphically about how Drew Dixon, who's one of the accusers, aroused him. At a staff meeting, he asked her to sit on his lap. He regularly exposed his erect penis to her. Later that year, Mr. Simmons is alleged to have raped her in his downtown Manhattan apartment. Ms. Dixon said she quit Def Jam soon after, saying that she was broken. And so that is the first, both sexual harassment of a particularly graphic kind and then sexual assault that happened as well, directly impacting her career. Another, Tony Sally, a music journalist, said, we were fighting during an encounter at his apartment. She said no in response to him trying to initiate sexual contact. He then raped her, she said. 2 friends and a colleague confirmed that Miss Sally told them about the assault around the time it happened. Through his lawyer, Mr. Simmons acknowledged that he had dated Miss Sally, which she acknowledges as well, but denied any non-consensual sex. So that is again an allegation of rape coming after the cessation of a romantic relationship.
So this looks really bad. He vehemently denies it, and so the one part of his statement where he says it's not to diminish the Me Too movement, I'm just happen to be innocent. That's entirely possible. At some point, some guy will of course be innocent, and he's not meaning to diminish from any movement. He just doesn't happen to have done it, right? I don't know that this is that moment. These are very specific charges from a multitude of women who have corroborating witnesses from the time. They don't have witnesses to the acts. They have witnesses to coming out of those situations and telling, in one case an ex-husband, in another case a therapist, this is what he just did to me, all the way back then. There's one of the women reported to the police. They apparently thought they didn't have enough evidence to take action, but she did report it to the police.
Yeah.
And so, it's possible that all of them are making it up all at the same time. But
all at those times.
Yes, but it doesn't look like it. And so one of the accounts was particularly haunting. It's a woman who was trying to get into the music business. She, I believe, had gone to Stanford for some time, and then she goes and is trying to live her dream. And this is so other than the charges of sexual assault, which are horrific enough, of course, but it's the idea of like the oppression, the nonstop oppression. So if you want to get advanced in your career, you can't be like a guy and just do it on your merit. You have to constantly be exposed to guys trying to have sex with you who are your bosses over and over again. And if you do have sex with them, you get favors. But if you don't, then you're put back.
Or you get favors for a brief period and then you are cast off, or your reputation is ruined, or God knows what. It's really a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
I think that a lot of men, since they never experienced it, had no idea the degree to which women were systematically oppressed in this country for so long. That so many careers were thwarted. A lot of these women just gave up after a while, and one of them had produced a great hit. She could have had a great career, had gone on to another place where she was then sexually harassed again, right? And eventually just gave up on the music industry.
Yeah, it's damn near impossible to get ahead in some of these industries. And for this to be a hurdle, which is so disconnected from your talent, your work ethic, anything having to do with the normal things we would think that would affect whether you get ahead or not, that you get abused in this way, and it happens in a lot of industries. I mean, like even like in Olympic gymnastics, there's the doctor who sexually assaulted dozens and dozens of girls, like hundreds of girls. And so even as a child in a sport, you can't avoid it. And I mean, we know in acting, the concept of a casting couch has been around for a long time. But how often were conversations about casting couches the prelude to trying to do something about it? And I've talked to friends who think sort of there's something about these industries where they think, well, you go in and okay, so someone propositions you for sex, just say no. Not understanding that these are gatekeepers for the future of your career, and there's no respect for the implicit threat and pressure put on you. That this is not simply, well, circle yes if you'd like to have sex with me. If not, we'll watch your tape and maybe you'll make it in another way. That doesn't exist, okay? Once you throw in this element, that is all that matters. And I think that even now, a lot of people don't have a proper level of respect for how that perverts the system.
And if you're wondering why so many in the media world and in politics are so many of these stories are coming out in those industries, a couple of different reasons. One, it might be happening with your local dentist, but the person's not famous, so you don't hear about it. That's of course true. But the second part of it is because these industries have more gatekeepers. So you go to law school, you become a lawyer. You go to medical school, you become a doctor. And so that doesn't mean that you won't have sexual harassment at law firms or in medical contexts. Of course there is, right? But it's more prevalent in these situations where there's a few guys who hold all of the power and they get to make or break careers. Well, that power gets abused far more often. And so that's why in media and in politics, you're seeing it a lot more than you are in other industries. If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member, tytnetwork.com/join.